Today I'd like to talk to you about wire ferrule crimp tools, or bootlace ferrule crimping. If you look at your boots, at the end of your shoelace you'll see a little crimped bit of material, stops it from fraying out. Well, they have the same thing for electrical cabling. Why would you use it? What's its benefits? What's the costs involved? I've been sort of old school where I use the old ring crimp terminals, and they're quite good, quite versatile, but you normally end up soldering them into the little crimp terminal, such as, you know, this type, or you get the fork type. Yeah, and they're quite good. I come across a problem when I've been doing the modification to the CNC lathe. Hopefully you've watched all those videos. And in the VFD in particular, I routed the power into the VFD, but then I junctioned off that to run the coolant pump and that type of thing. So rather than having separate plugs in the wall for the coolant pump and, you know, all that sort of stuff, the 42 volt and the 24 volt and all power supplies, all that sort of stuff, I run the main power supply in and then branched off the input from the VFD. It had the terminal blocks, but one of the problems with the terminal block is that when you put the screw in, it wasn't flat for the plastic, it had two edges in it. So the fork went in between, couldn't rotate sideways. Not so much of a problem, but then running all that in there, I then had a problem, is that you basically almost had to put the screw in till it almost fell off before you could actually fit it in underneath the plastic cutaway, because it was narrower than that, it was only fitted for that. So that was a pain, especially when you're in underneath screwing away. Then the next problem was, when I tried to put one on or two on, this type of terminal, they don't stack very well. The extra plastic soon stops it from sitting down flat, because it actually sits up that high. So that was also causing a problem. So you got 3 or 4 stacked on, you got the screw on your screwdriver, trying to put in a hole in the dark upside down with your head twisted backwards, trying to put it in on several terminals. So I wanted a better solution. So I then thought about the crimp terminals, and these are the bootlace crimp terminals, ferrules. They come in different sizes. Smallest in this is 1.25 internal diameter, up to the large ones on this kit were 3.9 millimeters. Now, they're supposed to be a standard, but some manufacturers, they don't like following standard. So most of the blue ones should be that size, most of the black ones should be that size, yellows and greens and all that. But it's not necessary. That's why I've written on the packet what they are. So what did I use them for? Well, when you are putting in your power supply, normally you might strip the end off there and just have the bare wire underneath the screw, or you may put a ring terminal on. A lot of the professional ones now are starting to use the ferrules, just grip them on, because they're very, very quick. That's a good use for that. With the design of it, it's got the plastic shroud on it. So when that goes on to the actual plastic, when they're matched, that actually stops it from bending at that fault point. If you solder the end wires, and I'm sure you've all come across this problem, you pull it out, you move it in, and all of a sudden the wire sitting there, the soldered end is still stuck underneath the screw. They tend to fracture. So with the particular type of connector, it matches the gauge of the wire, and that will match the plastic tubing normally. So it also reduces the flex fractures. That's another good use for them. You can get the old-fashioned crimp type, that have the pin. But again, half the trouble with these is that when you squash them, they come a lot wider, a lot distorted, and occasionally they pull out. And to be 100% secure, you tend to solder them in. Well, I do anyway. So you can have it like that, but then you have to crimp it, solder it, strip it, and all that. So it can take some extra time. And the other problem I was having is that on this Nevin board, it's got the narrow terminal blocks that are not the 0.1 inches, 2.5 millimeter spacing. I think it's only 1.5 or something like that. Very narrow. So if you put one of these in, you couldn't get it next to the next terminal block. Plus, they don't open up that large either. Quite narrow these days. So they're on the way out. These are on the way in. So this is the kit I brought. All these and the crimper for 25 bucks. Off eBay, of course. My favourite supplier, El Cheapo. So how does it work? Or how do you use it? Quite simple. Get your wire, strip your wire off. Now if you watch my other video on using this tool to turn the ends, you'll see how to do it. So you cut it, spin it on, then slide your connection on. Now, like I told you with the different types, sizes, sometimes the wire is thinner than the smallest ones of these. I try to get smaller sizes, but they have them as white and they give you different dimensions, so you could waste your money. So if it's really small, you can push that on and it slides over the wire. That's not totally useless. What you then do is, once you get longer length, twist the ends over and then fold it over double, so it's then nice and tight. Then you can put a little dab of silicone in there, it's elastic, and that will solve that problem. So basically, just put it in, twist it on. You have to check the length. The length isn't, it's a little bit past the plastic area. So you need to strip it, put it on, try. I usually like to leave a bit hanging over the end and I just twist it over. And the way it works, there's just 4 jaws that just close in. So in there, done. You can replay it to see how long it takes. Each jaw has got a V in it, and so it looks like a crocodile's back, and it's square, and then screws in, and it's secure. The flexing, because it's above the fault line, it's quite good. Then trying to put the wire in, it's easy to push it in and put it underneath the screw. When you have a bare wire, there's always a strand or something that gets caught, and the bit of solder also tends to kink it across sometimes. So that's how quick it is, how easy it is, how cheap it is. If you get multiple wires, say like this one here, now that's got a couple of connections, you can twist your wires together and they may fit in there doubled, no problem. But they won't fit in the plastic. So what you do is you can put this in boiling water, crunch it together, so as it goes from that to that shape. You can calculate with the circumferences and the diameters how far it will stretch. But as this photo will show, I've managed to put 3 wires into one, and then you put it in and you crimp, you got 3 wires. And how long it takes is ready, set, go. Done. Never a dud crimp, never comes out, never breaks. I've even used it to crimp a crimp, and as this photo will explain, the DuPont crimps, you have to have the cover and you have to then get the other crimper that I've showed in other videos, and sometimes it doesn't roll over, doesn't grab the plastic, and it's a pain. I'm going to invent, of course, as soon as I tell you, somebody's going to make it, is to produce DuPont, JST, all those other crimps that you have now. So instead of the end being where the plastic goes and you have to double crimp it twice, make up a tool like that. It's only narrow. You put the whole crimp through so the JST male or female end would be sitting over there. It's just a hollow tube and you just go bang and it's crimped. No double crimping, no faulty crimps, no different size wires, different size plastic, all fits. And the other use I plan to do it is when you're going to join two wires together. At the moment we normally twist it, solder it, and then we have to wrap up the bit of heat shrink or something like that on it. Wouldn't it be great if you could just put one wire in that way, one wire in that way, have your crimper, done. Of course it's stiff, we accept that. Solder is stiff, we accept that. The design I have to come up with is a slit in the jaw so you can actually get the wire out, because sometimes the wire may be connected to something on that end and connected on something on that end. Or you may be doing a terminal block where there's 2 or 3 connectors and you can't get it off later. So that's some ideas that CNC4A will take you to the next level with. They're quite versatile, quite cheap, and I highly recommend it. This particular model number is HSC8 6-4. It does 0.25 to 6mm square, or AWG Y gauge 23 to 10. So 25 bucks, I highly recommend it. And as always, thanks for watching. Catch you next time.